to get one more question in from Jose Perez Barcenas, who, when we talk about knowledge, this is a great question. Hi, coaches. I have never trained before based on power, heart rate, or VO2 max, but I now have all the equipment I need to start training with those factors. How do you recommend I start? I'm 31 years old. I've been running for 23 years and doing triathlon since 2014, mostly middle distance 70.3 and a lot of half marathon and marathon races. So essentially, how does an athlete start to incorporate some of this technology into what has already been an intuitive based training strategy?
I'll lead off, guys. So you've got a long-term athlete here who's been running for a long time and maybe is newer to multi-sport, and there's an awesome opportunity for this athlete to learn a little bit more about how their body functions in different environments and in different sports using metrics. So that's exciting. There's a potential for this athlete to learn more about themselves than they have even all these years and years of running. I would start with heart rate with this athlete because although they may have a very strong intuitive sense of how they feel at different paces being an experienced runner, they probably haven't done a lot of running and sustained running off the bike. Perhaps, watching heart rate gradually escalating on the bike and then heading out onto the run and having it come back down and learning how to keep pace and pressure on by sustaining heart rate. But there also would be a lot of awesome learning by getting a power meter. Power is just a definitive and precise feedback of exactly what you're doing on the bike at any given time. And I find that athletes who get on power for the first time often have like a little bit of a light bulb aha moment, like, I didn't realize how much I was soft pedaling at different points, or I didn't realize how hard I was going out and then backing off, or I didn't realize how easy I was going on the downhills or how I was managing cresting the hills. So I would start with the heart rate monitor for this particular athlete and then graduate to a power meter as soon as possible. But what do you think, Matt? What would you do with this athlete?
I think that I agree with everything you said around. Well,
I looked at the green playbook first.
That's it. It's you just mean, look, here it is again. You've been stealing out of this. But
here's my copy.
Here's the one thing I wouldn't do, and that's to drive very, very quickly to giving this athlete very specific targets in pace or power. And I think that if someone's getting a power meter or starting to track pace on running, for example, it's to play with it as a data gathering exercise. And so they've been running on perceived effort. You start to have an objective measurement of metabolic stress with the heart rate monitor, and that's what you can start to manage. And then if you're capturing data with pace or power, you just allow that information to come in. I think people are like, give me a number, give me a number, give me a number. It's like, no, that's not the point. In fact, if you sort of think about training zones globally, there is the intent and purpose of what it should feel like. There is the heart rate stress associated with it, and there's the objective output of power or pace. And you're always looking to sort of calibrate and start to understand that, and then also start to understand the impact of fatigue or heat or hydration or dehydration, etc. And so over the first months, I don't think this is a long journey that you don't need to flip and become binary. You can integrate it without any rush and start to gain insights over how your body responds and how you respond as an athlete. So that's the sort of very gentle, welcoming approach to it, rather than I've got a power meter, now I must ride at X, Y, Z, or I am a failure, pass fail in every session, because that starts to twist with the mind and completely dismantle what we've all talked about today around sense of inner animal, sense of pacing, sense of awareness. Right. And I think you called it sporting intelligence. We call it athletic IQ, really the same thing. I think it's exactly the same thing. I think we need to incorporate that in. Marky?
Yeah, it's taking those metrics and being able to overlay with an intrinsic sense of movement. So the data is one piece of feedback, but Mark, you talk so much about managing the course organically and listening to your body and not being able to, when you're under extreme fatigue, especially being linear and thinking. So how do you, I'm actually want to know how you bring in metrics into that as well.
Metrics, when an athlete first starts using it, is one of the best tools for matching what they're experiencing with what's actually going on. And so you think, okay, I'm steady, I'm putting out the same effort, and you realize, no, I'm pedaling hard and then I'm pedaling soft, or you think, oh, I'm running at a very comfortable pace, but then you have your heart rate monitor on for the first time, and you realize your heart rate's 190 beats a minute. It's giving you insight, a window into physiologically what's going on, and then eventually you start to understand those sensations based on what's actually happening. So it's use it as sort of like a reference point to just match your effort, your perceived effort, your pace, your power with heart rate, with changes, with unsteadiness or steadiness. Like, for example, the first time I ever put on a cadence monitor, I thought I had this super good running cadence, and I realized that I was about, it wasn't a lot, it was about 5 steps. It was, instead of 90 steps a minute counted on one side, I was running at about 80 or 85. And so when I upped it to 90 foot strikes a minute, 180 counted on both sides, even though I was running fairly slowly, it felt like I was rushing, but then I realized this is the cadence that I run when I'm doing an Olympic distance race. And so even after just running at that for a couple days, all of a sudden that became my go-to normal. And it was just such a small change that made such a significant difference in my running. So use it as data. Don't be a slave to it, though.
Yeah, I'll never forget the story of Pete Jacobs winning Kona that year, and he had his power targets, and he was holding back, and finally he was like, I just feel good, I'm just going to ride. And he took off, and that was the key for him to win that year.
Mm-hmm.